Hi, this is Stephanie Miller from The Stephanie Miller Show. Please enjoy this exclusive clip from my show on Political Voices Network.
But you know what?
Yes.
Here was the good news today. Well, I don't know if it was such good news, but I woke up and I went to look at Twitter, and I noticed Don Jr. had tweeted that his dad had passed away.
Yes, Don Jr. was hacked.
Oh, my God. And as I sprung out of bed, I said... It was like, there were like cartoon birds flying around
Happy
me
Joy
and
song
flowers in the air. It was like wonderful. It was a wonderful little moment where I could enjoy the fact that Donald Trump had passed away, according to his son Don Jr.
Sunshine.
Who was on coke. And
Sunshine, rainbows shot out your ass. Just
Exactly.
Animated cartoon Disney birds.
Yeah. Right. And because we can't have nice things, it was because Don Jr.'s Twitter account had been hacked.
Yes.
So.
Oh, darn. We can't have nice things
so
yet.
And then all the cartoon birds flying around me, they all died.
They all died.
Yeah.
From the windmills, the windmill cancer.
The windmill cancer, exactly.
Okay, where are we? You said, well, as you happen to do, said the most important thing ever. Bob Cesca said the most important thing ever said.
I'm all ears.
On Twitter. He said, we're in this dangerously awkward place, one, where fascism is one election away, and two, where regular voters don't want to hear that fascism is one election away. Yeah. That is it, isn't it? We're like, oh, you're being hysterical. It reminds me of people going, oh, you're being hysterical. Roe v. Wade's never going to be overturned, blah, blah, blah. Right? And here we are.
Yeah, and I also find, too, that other people who do this for a living, who stare into the white-hot plasma stream of American politics 24/7, as we do, they tend to say, Bob, you know what? The folks, they don't want to hear that fascism is on the way. You got to come up with something else. Don't warn them about fascism, because they're not going to believe you when you say that. I say, well, then what do you do? How do you warn against what is a very serious threat? And in fact, the two greatest issues that we face as a nation, fascism and the climate crisis. And it's strange, no one wants to talk about either. And that's kind of disturbing. Yeah. I think this is something that maybe we should collectively address. But then again, when it came down to COVID, it was a couple of months, and then we were like, well, done with COVID. Yeah. We're not talking about that anymore.
Yeah.
And so it's the same thing. It's the same idea where people just want to live in complete apathy of the whole thing.
And yet the facts, here they are. Jonathan Reiner, MD, who we follow, said, here are some fun facts. The state with the highest median age is Maine. Florida is number 5. While Florida has the highest current COVID hospitalization rate in the U.S., Maine has the lowest. How is that possible? Maine has the 4th highest vaccination rate. Florida is 21st.
There you go.
But it's just, and at the same time, oh God, did I actually see this, Jody? Did I see? Well, Eric Clapton did a fundraiser for Bobby Kennedy Jr., but my friend Stephen Stills did it too. Yep. Oh God, I have to call my friend.
You do.
You just don't know how many of these factors, these anti-vaxxer, lunatic, whatever, Russian, Saudi Arabia. You don't know how many factors are going to be involved in 2024, right?
Yeah. I mean, I would never have bet that Eric Clapton would end up one of these bro libertarians. But it just seems to be, they seem to be accumulating and telling everybody to stop doing what they're doing. Anything that's actually based on science and fact. Yeah. Oh, stop doing that. You don't want to do that. That's bad. You've got to come up with some sort of nonsense snake oil as an alternative for that, like ivermectin, for example.
Yeah.
But yet here we are.
But I mean,
some of the most popular podcasts are.
Stephen Stills, obviously not just my dear friend, but I mean, what's the famous song? Anti-war anthem in my living room with Nancy Pelosi. Yeah. Will Bunch said there's something happening here. It ain't exactly isn't exactly clear, but for what it's worth, Stephen Stills joining Clapton to raise money for anti-vax conspiracy theorist RFK Jr. is just soul crushing.
Yeah.
I don't want to say the name, but. You tweeted about someone we know.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Sorry.
He tweeted about me, and then yeah, okay.
You said he has a hammer sickle in his name, while also paying an anti-Semite in the world's wealthiest oligarch for online clout is accusing Democrats of putting corporations over people. I mean, again. This faction, again, in terms of, and as you said, it's like, it's not just, it's the Bernie or die, the people that have turned on Bernie. That's who we're talking about. The people that think Bernie's a corporate sellout now, right?
Yeah, it's a cult of bumper sticker slogans like corporatist Dems, and both the Democrats and Republicans are equally fascist. Didn't you know that? I just learned that yesterday from this
Both
guy's
sides do it.
followers. Yeah, but it's all the same things recycled and repeated over and over again. There's nothing original about it. It's the same sort of nonsense that doesn't make any sense. It's completely contradictory. As I said, the guy has a hammer and sickle in his Twitter handle, and at the same time, right next to it is a Twitter blue badge.
Yeah.
So this communist slash socialist
and talk about
is paying the world's wealthiest oligarch for online clout.
Yep. And
How brave.
Look at Zelensky, speaking yesterday, and the President Biden with just moral clarity about democracy and about what America. I mean, someone was saying this. I think it was Nicole Wallace was saying this would have been a no-brainer for Republicans, for everybody, a few years ago. But there really is. There's this pro-Putin treason caucus now that and by the way, the same fixation on what Zelensky wears that John Fetterman wears and not saving democracy worldwide. I mean, but.
Yeah, well, it's a worship of power and unsubstantiated strength. It's with Vladimir Putin. This is something that goes back to Pat Buchanan. I remember Pat Buchanan hero worshiping Putin in the early days when Bush was calling him Pooty Poot and looking into his eyes.
His soul.
Yeah. When there was still some modicum of hope that Vladimir Putin wouldn't be a strongman dictator for Russia. And we all saw how that worked out. And but now, I mean, the entire Republican Party is essentially adopting the philosophies of Pat Buchanan from, whatever it is, 30 years ago, going back that far.
Oh, my God. Speaking of lies, Trump apparently trothed or whatever that no one showed up for Biden's UN speech. Of course, it was completely packed. I mean, this is the problem with I'm sure you talked about Meet the Press, too. I'll find out on my bike later when I listen to you. But just normalizing fascism and just this stream of lies that you can't possibly counteract all of them in real time. But I mean, we all remember they laughed in Trump's face at the UN, and it was packed. And our respect is back in the world with President Biden. So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
We're surrounded by this dumb effery. And on one side, it's the traditional cable news media, the television news media, treating Donald Trump and Trumpism as though it's just normal. Like on the Meet the Press thing and the sort of the postmortem they did with Andrea Mitchell, they were talking about how, Donald Trump drew a clear contrast between himself and Joe Biden on the issues. What kind of nonsense is that? This guy's a tyrant who tried
criminal
to steal
fascist
an election.
lunatic. That's the contrast.
Right. And then on the other side, it's just a complete downplaying of how serious it is. I mean, it's immensely frustrating all around.
We keep saying, Bob, I don't know which were the most egregious lies that popped out at you that Kristen Welker didn't push back on, but the whole Nancy Pelosi responsible for January 6th. They questioned her, and then the Capitol Police, they burned the evidence, and she refused the soldiers. He just lie after lie that is just so easily refutable, right?
Right. And the fact that it was pre-recorded, giving them the opportunity to include some sort of fact check in there would have been helpful, given the fact that they had, 3 days or something like that before airtime, that they could have put a fact check in. Even I suggested on the podcast yesterday, they do pop-up video. Remember pop-up video?
Yeah.
They do that with the fact checking as Donald Trump's just rattling them off. All you got to do is pop up a graphic there on screen saying, no, that's not what happened. And I think the only time Kristen Welker did this, and by the way, I blame more the showrunners and executives at NBC News than I do Kristen Welker herself. But the thing is that she did one fact check in the midst of that interview, and it was the wrong thing. Donald Trump is going off about his usual rant on abortion, trying to target Democrats as being baby killers, essentially that old yarn.
Yes, after birth, right.
Democrats want to abort babies in the 7th, 8th, 9th month. And then he was doing the part about how Democrats want to murder babies after they're born.
Right.
And so, And so what Kristen Welker fact-checked is the part about 7th, 8th, and 9th month.
Yes.
Not the most outrageous thing that any American politician has ever said in their lives, which is that Democrats want to abort babies after they're born. Right. That wasn't fact-checked at all. But the other thing was. It's like she picked the wrong thing to debunk, and it was worthless. It was the one fact check that she did was absolutely worthless.
Keeping in mind the Bob Cesca don't get happy rule. I'm just saying, we were looking at silver linings too. We talked about Victor Shi talking about the races that we not just have won, but are continuing to win. The Democrats are winning. And if you try to tune out the punditry in the polls, Amy McGrath said tonight, I announced my mission for 2024. I'm teaming up with an unprecedented group of leaders in the national security community to launch a new project called Operation Saving Democracy. And our mission is singular: stop Trumpism at the ballot box next November. President Obama tweeted, great news starting today. Pennsylvania will begin automatic voter registration for folks getting a driver's license or state ID card at the DMV. Hopefully even more states will follow. I mean, Brooklyn Dad yesterday said, the GOP slogan is if you can't beat them, cheat them. And so that's what our fight is going to be in 2024 to stop fascism.
And the couple of stories that you just read, it's stories like that give me hope amid the perpetual existential despair that I suffer seeing what's around the corner, or the potential of what's around the corner. And so there are other organizations like Indivisible and so on who are doing amazing work on the ground, and things that you don't always hear about on social media that are actually still happening and which will ultimately save us. I think young people are continuing to be activated more and more often, and we've seen the results in many of these special elections recently. Right. The one in Pennsylvania, for example, and I think that tends to be the trend. Amid the doom and gloom of what we see, there are things,
and they're helping.
Substantive things that are happening.
They're helping. Trump saying, I killed Roe v. Wade. There's an ad. Someone calling Biden the most pro-union president. It's like, yes, thank you.
Yeah. And look, I always recommend when you're feeling really down and hopeless, there are a few things you could do. One, you can listen to this show, the Stephanie Miller Show. Also, Hal Sparks's Mega Worldwide on YouTube.
Yes.
And from a shocking source, Lawrence O'Donnell's A Block has been immensely encouraging.
We don't stay up that late, but we'll take your word for it.
Especially last night. He was talking about hope last night, and I was very grateful for that A Block on Lawrence last night.
You know what I think of America as, Bob? I think of it as when you rode off the path there with me in D.C. and fell into the brambles, and we have to grab America by the yam sacks and pull it back up to democracy.
Exactly.
As I pulled you out
here
by your giant
all
yam
of
sack.
Your metaphors.
That's right. I pulled you back on your feet. Oh, hi. I'm here with sexy liberal John Fugelsang wearing my Los Angeles sexy liberal shirt. Oh, my God. We have an LA show coming up October 21st. But how else could you see it, John?
How else could you see it? I'm so glad you asked. For a limited time, you can see the show live via pay-per-view if you go to sexyliberal.com. All the laughs, you'll miss nothing.
I can stream it from all around the world?
All around the world, in your car, while you're driving. Watch it at home.
Sexyliberal.com, yeah.